You guys shot the ball really well. What you saw from that compared to the way you did not like the shooting in the previous game for Seton Hall?
Yeah, I mean, the goal for us every game is to try to, be a pretty well-balanced team where we're trying to get X number of threes and we're trying to make a certain percentage. And job number one is you have to get those. And, we only got 58 shots, which 60, it's not like it's not a lot, but most of the time you're going to get around 60 or change. So I thought today was the perfect balance of, scoring in the lane, scoring from the free throw line, scoring from the 3-point line. And it always looks great when the ball goes in. Whatever else you're doing, it doesn't matter if the ball's going in the basket.
Mike, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Hey, Geno. Specific to Kristen, she obviously shot the ball well. It also seemed like she just made a lot of really smart decisions with and without the ball and deciding what shots to take, when to be aggressive going to the basket, when to take the jump shot. Have you seen her game mature in that way and just playing efficiently and wisely?
Yeah, I think the thing you have to be able to do, which, I think Kristen is hopefully doing now and continue to get better at, is you have to become really efficient on offense. It doesn't matter, whether you get 15 shots or whether you get 20 shots. You have to be efficient. You have to shoot a high percentage. And the way you shoot a high percentage is you take great shots and you take the appropriate shot at the appropriate time. And that's a sign of a good offensive player who's starting to figure out when to, when not to, and to have these conversations with these kids all the time. Basketball is not a game of how to, it's a game of when to. If you can't make a three, you know how to make them. If you can't make a pass, you know how to make it. It's when do you make that pass? When do you make that drive? When do you take that open three? When do you have to kick it? So I think as Kristen, as we play more games and, she stays aggressive, I think that's only going to get better and better.
Doug,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Doug. I was just going to follow up quickly. Geno, it's not like you didn't have a lot of options last year, but it seems like you could be a team that has even more options to go along with Kristen this year. Is she feeling a certain comfort level with her role in this team and the way other players have either arrived or gotten better around her?
Well, the one thing that's significantly better than last year is we're a much better passing team. So that creates more opportunities for everybody. I think the ball moves better. We're able to use the whole court. We get rid of the ball quickly. We have a team that's willing to pass the ball. That's somewhat unusual maybe in today's day and age. They want to pass it, and for the most part, we're a pretty good passing team. I'm sure Paige will get a Christmas gift from all the teams that we play because she passes it as much. Once we get a big lead, she starts throwing it to their players because, she's from Minnesota and, she feels sorry for them, Yeah, you betcha. Yeah.
Doug, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. As you move along here and you kind of evaluate these games, what do you take defensively from this? I know some of it's the opponent, but just what can you take from that?
I mean, I look at the same things every game. How was, you know, how was our mindset in the game? Are we, like we're not a great defensive team. I keep telling people this, and they go, "Oh yeah, you held them to 12." We're not a really good defensive team, and the problem is that we have a team right now of some young guys, some older guys that just don't communicate well. And that's maybe a sign of poor coaching. Maybe that's a sign of, we're not spending enough time on, things that we need to be spending more time on. But that's the other thing that I'm finding difficult is getting kids to communicate, talk, open their mouth, and listen. More importantly, listen. We had a situation today where at the end of the game, not the end of the game, at the end of the half, the other team was clearing out. They went 1-4 low, and Paige said, "Hey, they're going to set a flat ball screen at the 5-second mark. Trap it." And it went in one ear and out the other, and nobody did any of that. So we don't communicate well. We don't and we don't listen. So as that gets better, we'll be a better defensive team. And I'm not looking at the score. I mean, I could care less what the score is. I'm thinking, are we getting the right shots? What's our screening look like? So what do I take from games like this? We're good at some things. We're really good at some other things. We're not good at some things. We're horrible at some things. And maybe after 4 games, we played 4 games. Maybe after 4 games, that's where you're supposed to be. I don't know.
Oh, you want to go ahead?
It's like Hollywood Square.
Let's go to Alexa. Michelle will circle back to you.
I couldn't hear you. Sorry.
Matt Finkel's in the middle.
All right, Michelle.
Isn't he the guy?
Oh, you can go.
Guy from,
You can go ahead, Alexa. I'll go
Ace
after you.
Ventura, Pet Detective, Matt Finkel. Isn't that who that is?
Okay.
One that was hiding Mr. Knish. Mike, you know that movie, right?
No. I can barely hear you right now. Anyway.
All right, go ahead.
Hello. Liv had, especially it seemed in the first half, just seemed to be continuing off of the game she had on Thursday. I think she hit like 20 straight field goals if you go back to the Seton Hall game. Did you like what you saw from her at least early on?
As I said on Thursday, if we can get, if you said we were going to get 16 and 11, 17 and 11, 18 and 11 from Liv every night, regardless of who the opponent is, then I would tell you, wow, we have a chance to be a really, really good team. Her ball handling, is it. Again, how many times we turned it over today? 19 times. We try to explain. We have pretty good offensive players, and Liv, every time she gets the ball in the lane, she has an opportunity one-on-one, and she's pretty good at getting the ball out. She's pretty good at that little 15-footer, face up. If we could get, obviously, if we know we were going to get that from, I don't know that it's FISA-like, where we're going to get a chance to get 30 every night, but, we want to be able to count on Liv to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do tonight. 16, 17, 18, and 10. That's an all-American type, season. Really, if you're going to do that, 18 and 10 every night.
Michelle, you want to go?
Yeah, thank you. Coach, you mentioned, I don't want to say frustration with defense, but just some normal concerns with defense. What do you think about going against Segrist? I think probably she's the best player overall that you guys will have faced so far, not to shortchange anybody that's come so far, but what do you think that will do in terms of learning a little bit more about your defense to play somebody that is as talented as she is?
Yeah, she is really talented, and I mean, the kid's only a sophomore, right? And
yeah.
she's got a lot She's got a lot of ways to beat you, and that's going to be really good for us because we have to be able to identify, who's going to guard who, and we have to identify who can shut down somebody on the other team without needing help every time down the floor. I don't know that we've identified that yet. I don't know that we just put Gabby on her or put Kia Nurse on her or put Mariah Jefferson on her. I don't know that we have the ability to do that at this particular time in our defense. But maybe that's the time we are in the world too, Michelle. I don't think anybody worries too much about their defense. I think it's all about, run the break, get out in transition, score points. And, the other part, will take care of itself. But we do really have to identify somebody that we know can do that. And maybe that game Tuesday night will help us, identify who that is. But certainly they're going to have a tough job, whoever that is.
We'll go to Jeff and then Carl.
Hey, Geno.
Hey.
Back to Kristen for a minute. Clearly, this is not the most efficient game she's played.
Hey, Jeff, you're muted, so we're picking up your sound from someone else who's near you.
Sorry about that. You good? No?
How about that? Better?
Much better.
All right. Sorry
I
about that.
actually liked it better the other way.
I bet you did. I bet you did. Back to Kristen for a minute, if we could. Clearly, this is, if not the most efficient game she's played, one of them in her career. But going back to Notre Dame as a freshman, she also proved that she can be a big game player. I was wondering, with everybody in her also, kind of focusing on how well she shoots and all that stuff, how does that weigh against, because sometimes great players don't have the most efficient games in the biggest games. They just produce when they have. How does she, weigh the efficiency and economical aspects of her basketball game versus, greatness in big games?
Well, every player has to make a progression, and the progression comes a lot of different ways. Progression at Connecticut a lot of times is when you're a freshman, you're pretty much given a specific role to play on the team, with some exceptions, don't get me wrong. So when Kristen was a freshman, it was, you brought up the Notre Dame game. It was pretty simple. Kristen, every time we rebound the ball, every time they score, run as fast as you can up the floor. We're going to throw it to you and make something happen. Get in the lane, pull-ups, threes, whatever it is you want to do. So that was a very specific role. And now, as you progress and get to your junior year, your role has to be bigger than that. It has to be bigger than that. So you have to be able to do more, and you have to be able to score more ways, because now teams have had. So it does become about being smarter and being more efficient and learning, when to, when not to, as I said earlier. But, in all the big games that we're going to play this year, whoever that is, Tuesday night, I think Villanova's still undefeated, I think. In all the big games we're going to play, whether it's at Villanova or, in our league, or whether it's at DePaul or at Marquette, who they're the three best teams in the league as of right now, you're going to have to come up big in those games. And you might not get 25 shots. You might get 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And you're going to have to make 8, 9, 10 of those. And that's the next step. And I think that's part of what happens at Connecticut. And now that's where she is. And that's where Liv is. 2 years ago with Fee and Lou was living in a different neighborhood. It was in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Just, you know, be a kid and just hang out. Now she's living in a tougher neighborhood where she's got to be asked to do a lot more. So those two guys are, you know, what we need from them every single night is pretty much the same.
Carl, you want to go ahead?
I will. Geno, as good as Liv was with her 9 for 9 and 24 points the other night, she didn't have a single defensive rebound. Today she had 11 defensive rebounds. How much better, or, you know, what are her expectations to grab rebounds? Because obviously if she doesn't, you're not going to beat the best teams.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You know, our starting lineup is really small when you think of it. And we didn't miss a lot of shots today, so there weren't a lot of opportunities to offensive rebound. But one of the challenges going in today was they're a really aggressive team going to the offensive boards. So that was a big focal point of our defense, you know, and finishing off every possession with a defensive rebound. And I thought she did a great job of that. Now, she wasn't facing anybody on her level, and that's going to come down the road. And I guess time will tell, but again, that's the next progression. So whatever rebound Lou used to get, or Fisa used to get, or whatever, you've got to get those now. So that changes things a little bit, and it's a great opportunity for her. And so far, you know, I think she's played pretty well.